Tabletopped will start after the following messages.
Do you know where the legend of Bigfoot comes from? Or why people leave offerings of beans to the Mothman statue? No? Well, I'll certainly tell you on Myth Monsters. We're a mythical monsters and cryptid podcast that goes up every Thursday, and we talk about how these monsters came to be and how they exist within our modern culture and media to this day. So if you're interested in finding out about kelpies, wendigos, unicorns, or Bigfoot himself, tune in to Myth Monsters every Thursday on all streaming platforms, and please, stay spooky.
Welcome back, everyone, to another episode of Tabletopped. Today, get your nightlights. We're crawling under the bed with our friend, Gregory. Hello, Greg. How are you?
Doing all right, Nick. It's great to be back.
Last time we talked to you, we were talking Krampus, I think, right?
Yeah, it's almost been a year. We're just a couple months from that, so it's been too long. I'm ready to talk about monsters. This is great.
As our resident folklore and monster expert, we wanted to bring you in to talk about a bunch of monsters, and this week we're doing a bunch of monsters every day. So why don't we talk about the first one we were thinking of? But first, let's introduce the other person in the room, the silent, the deadly, the...
Oh shit, you rolled your perception check and saw that I'm not just a chair.
Yes.
I'm Shade.
It's Shade. Welcome back, Shade.
So yeah, like I said, you rolled your perception check. I'm not a chair, but I mimicked one, and you didn't realize it. So let's talk a little bit, Greg, about mimics.
I thought we were doing slimes.
Oh, shoot. No, I'm just kidding.
We're talking about mimics today. The trickiest of monsters.
Yeah, I was going to say, definitely fits.
Halloween, yeah.
Yeah, you can get that in a Halloween context.
So, Greg, what is a mimic?
Well, and I would say that Shade's probably more of an expert on this than I am, but a mimic is generally it's the ultimate oh shit monster. You've killed you've slain the dragon, defeated the hobgoblins or whatever have you, and it's like, oh, look at that. That's a nice, bit of treasure right there. I'm going to open this chest and, oh, geez, it has teeth and a tongue, and where is my arm? So...
You just gave me such a good idea for, a one-shot of, the dragon isn't the monster that you have to, worry about. It's the dragon's horde of mimics.
So that's actually, there's 5e stats for that.
No way.
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely.
Dragon horde?
Yeah.
No kidding.
Well, it's not specifically a dragon horde, but it's called a horde mimic, I believe. And
that's so cool.
And it's 100% just a big pile of coins that's actually a bunch of mimics.
I love that.
Yeah, that's great. You could also do a whole mystery episode where it's who killed the dragon? We're going in, it looks like bite marks, but lots of different sizes. And it's well, who is it? And it's the fucking horde underneath the dragon rose up and devoured its master.
Oh, that's pretty cool.
Absolutely. I mean, that would be a lot of fun. But how would you use them in a Halloween campaign or a one-off? I'm curious.
Can I tell you what I have always loved about the mimic? And I actually put it as a background creature in Lakewood once that people...
Oh, yeah.
I'm not sure.
Okay.
Yeah. I have always loved a mimic that is something huge like a house. Yeah. I love that. I love the idea of you're looking out over the town and you see one of the houses get up and walk away and you're like, what the fuck was that?
That's not good, guys. Let's go trick-or-treat at that house. Oh, no, never mind.
No. So that's how I would probably do it, a trick-or-treat situation, but there is a house that is a mimic or something. Or you go inside the house and you're fighting through a mimic house, but the house is also a mimic and all that kind of stuff. There's so many ways you can do it.
Absolutely.
I am an anxious player as it is, so now this is just going to make things worse. Come on, let's go on the adventure. No way. No. I know what's going on when we go in that apartment.
For you, it's why are all the mimics turning into worms? I don't understand.
Oh, jeez.
Never ends.
I did actually do that for one of our, as well for one of our Icosahedrodomes. Sean's character ran into an area And it was a giant mimic. The entire room was a mimic, essentially.
Oh, and because I remember there were mimics inside the room, but I don't think he engaged with it in a way that would activate the actual room of mimics.
Yeah, that's the thing. Is like each floor tile, I had it a mark that would indicate to me whether or not it was actually a mimic. So he would get stuck to those. But as that zone collapsed, because of that was the premise, was that each area would collapse after a while. That was its collapsed state, as it turned into a mimic that was going to slowly crush you
and eat you.
Yeah,
I love that. That's cool.
also love big mimics, to be honest.
But let's talk about like a mimic stat block, because mimics are far ranging. Everything from like level 3 you could feasibly start encountering them, right? They're like around a CR 3 or something, or
CR2, yeah.
CR2.
Yeah.
So it's like around level 2 or 3 you can start encountering them, but they range all the way through the levels. Is that correct?
I mean, they can be used whenever, wherever. Yeah, absolutely. But I mean, I am of the philosophy of like, throw that ancient dragon at your level 1 players. Why not? I did that to a group yesterday.
You did?
Yeah, kind of.
Oh, dear.
It was actively being summoned Dracolich, and we were able to kill the caster before it actually.
Yep.
Oh, gotcha. That's you are a cruel man.
I am.
I love it.
But it was just a testament to the beauty of the great weapon fighting feat.
That's true.
Truly.
But on the flip side,
adamantine armor.
on the flip side, I'm also of the opinion that, throw the CR1 creature at a level 20 character. Like, I think you should mix and match. Don't restrict.
Yeah.
Agreed.
But yeah, the stat block for a basic mimic in 5th edition, since we're gonna kind of focus on that. I mean, mimic is kind of it's not limited to D&D, but it is iconically D&D. So I think it's fair for us to do that. Plus, Wizards pay me a lot this time around.
Oh yeah.
Why are you wearing that Hasbro blazer again? I thought you threw that away.
It came back. Oh no, it's a mimic. So, the general gist is that they're shape changers. As long as they're not moving, you can't tell the difference between them and.
Is that in the block of like there isn't an insight save or something?
While the mimic remains motionless, it is indistinguishable from an ordinary object.
No kidding.
Yep, that is 100% a basic feature. It has to be in its object form, though.
No wonder why it's so dangerous. I mean, so there's no detection or anything like that? You just...
Absolutely. Actually, because again, that was a level 20 game that I did that to Sean, and the year before I also got him with a mimic, come to think of it, because it was a band of intellect that he saw in another level 20 game on like a pedestal. And he checked everything except for the band itself, if memory serves, and it was
got him.
So yeah,
the thing about mimics is that they only mimic objects, correct?
Generally speaking, yeah. That is
so
the
objects.
idea.
So it could be like terrain, items.
That's that. You know what?
Like a
that
rock
gets
or
into.
something.
I mean, if you want to get really screwy with 5e and D&D in general. A corpse is an object. It's not a person. What is an object is a great question for, they don't have good tags on that stuff. But generally speaking, a corpse is kind of codified as an object. So I don't see why it couldn't, be a skull or something like that.
Such a weird idea while we were talking that I was like wanting to check to see if it was the thing. Since mimics can't mimic creatures, and since Dopplers can't change into objects.
Yeah.
What about a Doppler that uses mimic weapons?
I mean,
so it's like throwing stars and stuff that turn into monsters as they reach you.
I absolutely love that. And again, we're kind of tiptoeing around something that I'm screwing with right now.
Oh, really?
For y'all.
Yeah.
So yeah, I 100% think that you should do that. But yeah, for the stat block, the only other big thing that I'll mention is that they have advantage on attack rolls against any creature grappled by it, which is not as standard for grapple in 5th edition. They are adhesive in their object form only, so that's a really fun thing.
So it's like you try to drop the knife and it's like,
no, I'm still holding the knife. Yeah, so like if it stays in its object form, it adheres. to anything, and there's an escape. It's grappled essentially, and then they have a pseudopod, so something like a tentacle to hit things, and a bite, and that's pretty much it. If they're not in their object form, they are formless, which you can distinguish that however you want. But to me, that sounds like a goo, like a blob.
This is explaining a lot in our current campaign.
Yeah.
You magnificent cruel man.
So when you use mimics, they're definitely a surprise element to them and all that. I've always thought it was kind of stupid that they didn't have sneak attack like that. Like a rogue have 3d6 or something that you add on to a surprised attack. You know what I mean?
I like that.
Just because otherwise they're more annoying than dangerous in 5e because they don't have anything that's gonna like wreck your shit immediately. But I do like the idea of like you reach into the treasure chest and it clamps down on you and it's like a surprise round or whatever, so it gets 3d6 on its first roll or whatever.
I actually, I think that's a great idea and it makes sense.
And super lethal for like lower level characters. So if you're running a Halloween one shot and you're like, I just need something that's really scary.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's your jump scare.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And they need to be faster, I think, too, because I think the basic mimic, it's only got a speed of 15. If that thing can skitter, ooh boy.
Yeah. I guess everything is anime. You can decide what anything is at any time.
Yeah.
But like you could just be like, depending on what it is, like if it's a chest, maybe it's using its tongue to drag itself across.
Yeah.
But maybe if it's like, a fork, it's like running across the table at you.
I'm getting some like John Carpenter vibes where, the chest sprouts like spider legs and crawls around.
Yeah, absolutely. The thing is a mimic in some respects. Yeah.
It's sort of like a mixture of a Doppler and a mimic.
Yeah.
You could totally do the thing as this creature. That'd be super fun. Actually,
that'd be a lot of fun. And actually, I was chatting with Jackie the other day about our little campaign right now, and it was because the knife mimic. Yeah. I was clarifying that they're not stuck in one shape. They are able to go into any object. So if it's fast and you're in a dark room,
it's like the lights go out and then it comes back up and it's like the room is reset and you're like, what wasn't here before?
Yeah, what wasn't here before?
There are two chairs where there was one. It's a very like prop hunt.
It's like,
absolutely.
It's like, oh, geez, man, we could have a monster in here. Well, I need a beer. Anybody want anything from the fridge?
That would be a really fun game to like, hack into D&D or some other thing. Like a prop hunt style game where one person plays as a mimic.
The difference kind of thing.
Yeah, like one person starts as a mimic and then like that could be really fun. And is trying to kill all the characters.
Shoot. That does sound like a lot of fun. That could be your Halloween thing.
Yeah.
There you
and like
go.
especially if you had a bunch of minis and stuff and you just had two of every object or whatever and you're just like, you have it out like a clue board or something and like objects all around and the players move from place to place and like one person like everyone closes their eyes because the lights go out and then like you take the form of like a chair or whatever and everyone has to try to figure out what's different.
Oh, I do love that. But one other thing that food, like you said, grab a beer, right?
Yeah.
Food is perfect for a mimic.
Can you eat it and then it eats you from the inside out?
Don't see why you couldn't.
You open a beer and like put it up like this and something just shoots down your throat.
And honestly, that's another fun thing you could do is, because this kind of combines so many things in my mind, but so the big panic of every Halloween is, the candy is poisoned, which is a myth. It's like never poisoned.
It was like almost never poisoned.
almost never poisoned. In particular, the thing that kind of started that panic was a father who was poisoning his own children. He wasn't out he wasn't out there distributing candy for other people so much as he had a party at his house, if I recall correctly. But having a modern kind of D&D setting where there's like the
town is like everyone, you have to like make sure that the candy isn't
mimics.
Not mimics, yeah.
That's very fun. So let's talk a little bit. We very briefly went over the stat block. Is it intelligent? Is it something you can reason with or talk to? Or?
Absolutely. So not all mimics have the ability to speak. But so the basic stat block, for example, does say that language is blank. It doesn't have anything, and its intelligence is a -3. However, there is definitely language somewhere, and I can't remember exactly if it's in the monster manual or later, because there have been other versions of the mimic that they've released from time to time, and throughout editions too, where mimics gain the ability to speak. And I think you absolutely should have a talking mimic. It is another campaign I ran. My group encountered in a hag's lair Goodbox. Who is just a good boy. He's just a good boy who just wants to help you. He's a good box. And beloved character. Good box.
You could also, if you wanted to take it to a darker place rather than good box, you could have bad box that essentially it uses the party's voice that it has heard to lure you into different rooms or whatever.
Like that bear in Annihilation.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I'm reading a comic right now that's very much like xenomorphy, and the alien has the ability to speak as whatever it ate last. And so it's basically luring people into rooms. Very scary.
I love that, and I did just double check. It is actually in the basic rules and in the monster manual. It says cunning hunters. Mimics live and hunt alone, though they occasionally share their feeding grounds with other creatures. Although most mimics have only predatory intelligence, rare few evolve greater cunning and the ability to carry on simple conversations in common or undercommon. Such mimics might allow safe passage through their domains or provide useful information in exchange for food. So.
Are they pescatarians? What's up with them?
They are opportunistic feeders.
Okay. Yeah. So meat, really.
Yeah.
They're like Venus flytraps.
Yeah. I mean, I'm sure that you give it a little veg, it'll be fine. But,
I'm kind of stuck on the idea that, what is an object? You know what I mean? Because it's a plant seems like it would be an object, but
it's an object once it's plucked.
Yeah.
Or a piece of it, but once that limb has been ripped off the tree, that limb is an object. It's a branch,
Okay.
Yeah, it's a stick.
I'm assuming a microphone that's right in front of your face is an object, right? So
that one is not an object.
Yeah, I'm getting very uncomfortable now.
It's not an object, which is why it's moved a few times.
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's fair.
Don't mind it as it licks its pop filter, I guess.
Seeing some serrated teeth in here.
But yeah, so we've talked about that. What does it have any special abilities? I know it has the adhesive and the grappling, but does it have any specific things that are kind of iconic to the mimic?
I mean, the shape changing and the false appearance and the adhesiveness, I think, are the most specific thing. But generally speaking, they are immune to acid, and so other mimics might, and other mimics might actually spit acid and acid
Makes
mist
sense.
and things like that. So that is a thing that mimics do.
All right, so Greg, since you're our lovely folklorist and guest, I want you to tell us how you would use a mimic in a Halloween one-shot.
Ooh, this is some pressure here. Well, I mean, generally speaking, I like your idea of luring, potential victims away from the party. I mean, they say never split the party, namely because, when you have a group of murder hobos together, it's bound to be
They hobo and they murder.
Pretty much. But, once you start putting some isolating people, making them second guess things, that's how you get stuff. So as you were saying, if you have a mimic and I'm trying to think here, a statue, that's an object, you're able to have it you're walking around, you're like, wait a minute, is it in a different position than it was before? Or, hey, Nick, you hear Greg's voice in another room and it's you go over there. How you would implement it without causing suspicion. That's where the issue is.
I think that's the thing is that you have to know your group. If your group's down to role play or whatever, then that's great. But otherwise, the DM would be like, you hear your friend's voice from over here. But you could also do an NPC.
Exactly. Yeah. NPC would probably be the way to do that because then you're like, okay, this is normal. And then it's that Mona Lisa, it just tried to maul me. I don't know why I did Mona Lisa. That is just randomly in my brain. But one of the great things about it is that even if it's unsuccessful, with that, you can really cause paranoia among the group because even if you don't do a successful job at eating one of them with, a fridge or something.
The fridge!
A fridge. Somebody else, then it's like, oh, I don't trust Franco. And it's like, Franco's like, well, I don't trust you,
That's
Greg.
a pretty good rule in general.
Yeah, well,
I'm just kidding, Franco. I love you.
You're great, usually.
Literally, whenever we start talking about, different objects, eating people and stuff, I'm just imagining prop hunt. Just that way, how they just kind of float and, zoom around? That's kind of what I'm thinking of.
So I have a suggestion for your idea of using an NPC but still doing it with the players for the voice. Once they're in on, okay, there is definitely something taking our form and using our voices here sometimes. At the start of each round, you distribute cards that you've shuffled together.
Ooh, that could be fun.
And those cards will tell the players whether this round they are playing a mimic or they're playing themselves.
Yeah. Always a
little mini game.
Yeah, always a little bit of a line to tread of is this going to be fun or is this removing player agency? Yeah. We've had that conversation in past podcasts, but I think that in this case it could be a lot of fun.
Yeah, and I think you're not getting rid of the
real character.
Player. Yeah, correct. They're still.
I hope you're not
there.
getting rid of the player.
Yeah, well, if you are, come into our other podcast, Murders for
Murders
Friends.
all the way down.
But no, you're still got that character, and you're just turning the camera onto the monster for a moment.
Yeah, I also, for me, I going back to the house idea, I would love a haunted house game, except they can't find the exit because it's a mimic and it's changing where the things are throughout the building. And so it's trying to get you to basically trying to get you into certain rooms where there are other mimics that it's trying to feed. And so it's, you're in
little babies.
Yeah, it's little baby mimics. That could be a lot of fun. So any final thoughts on mimics?
Well, going back on further adding to these scenarios and stuff, I guess one of the final things I'd say is put them in a room where they know there's mimics there, but it's kind of unavoidable and you have to come across them.
You don't know what they are.
Where they are. So say, for example, it's hey, there's a mimic that is... that's been posing as a mannequin. That's how it likes to do things. And it's we'll keep an eye out for a mannequin. And then you open a door and it's filled with mannequins. And it's yeah, you have to get the special artifact all the way over there. And just talk about I don't know, make them do stealth checks, dex checks. And then one day mannequin grows a set of teeth. Jeez, that is terrifying. I love this.
I also just love that.
I did that in my campaign, actually.
I also love the idea of lawful good mimics in a museum or something at night where they're going in and trying to steal something, but it's a mimic, and so it's a protective thing, a anti-theft device.
I like that. That's really cool.
That's great for a heist campaign.
Yeah, it'd be so good. The MacGuffin, it's there's it's in one of 4 places, but the cameras show that it's in all 4 of those places right now, and then you have to figure out which one's real.
Damn. Oh, man. Hey, one question I had for you, Greg.
Yes.
I'm racking my brain for any folklore of mimics. I don't know of any folklore. Pardon my tapping of the table there.
Most of the time it's shape changes are people oriented, or vocal, will-o-wisps or whatever will try to lead you off the path or whatever with vocalizations and
pretty
stuff.
much.
Yeah, but do you know any anything that's specifically an object is going to eat you?
Well, there's one myth I remember, and this is kind of obscure, but it's a Greek myth where I don't know exactly what the details were, but some person ticked off the gods like you do. It's
easy to do.
It's the Olympians. They're not it's not very difficult. So as punishment,
petty as shit.
Yep. As punishment, they gave the person a cloak, right? It was a very, very nice cloak, and the woman says, "Oh, this is." I can't remember if the woman was the person who ticked off the gods themselves, or whether or not it was just an innocent friend of the person who ticked them off, because, again, very vindictive. She puts the cloak on, and the thing proceeds to, eat her. It, eats her skin. And then when her daughter goes to try to save her, Eddie Turskin. So
Holy shit.
yeah, right. This
I
is
don't
pretty
know
well-
this myth.
Yeah, that
Man,
was.
the gods will literally do anything to avoid going to therapy.
For more on this, listen to our Pantheon episode, which does not at all talk about gods.
Fanta Buddha. All right, everyone, we are going to wrap this up, but every day this week we are going to release another episode. Lucky you with another monster. It's our monster menagerie week.
Sweet.
So we'll see you all tomorrow.
All right, let's get back under the bed, guys. You first.
All right. It's always me.
Slurp.